Hello everyone, welcome back to TGRS here on Internet Nobodies. This week though, I wanted to just give my initial impressions on Sea of Thieves. I picked it up very recently, but I haven't had enough time with the game to truly give a solid review. But I do have a couple of hours played to really talk about what I like so far and what I'm expecting and what could really just benefit this game already from what I understand. And then once I've played it through a bit more, I've found out there's even some storylines. Once I go through that, I would love to come back and completely do a proper review for this game. Jumping right into it here, the fact that the character selection is limited, you're given these random pirates and you just pick from one of those, is phenomenal, I believe. I may be in a minority here. Of course, you can customize them with hair and other cosmetic like clothes, but generally the face and the build of your character is locked from the initial start of the game. And I like that. It makes you not as, I guess, picky, and it forces you to really go into areas that you never would have considered when making another character in another game, because you're not making the perfect one. You're adapting yourself to this character to play. And I like that. I like having to look at a character, look at what they could be, and then having to adapt and write something around that. When it comes to RPing, especially with like D&D, that's why I like being a DM. I like writing these basic stories for characters and giving them just like a general outline of who they are and then fleshing it out as I go along, because it makes the storytelling a lot more interesting. The same can be done here in Sea of Thieves. Personally, I think my character looks butt-ass ugly, but it makes me have to think, okay, how would this character act? How would this character survive? And how does he interact with his crew members or my friends? And having those questions being posed to me instead of, oh, here's my rugged 15-year veteran of the war turned level 1 character, it makes me a lot more creative, and I like that aspect of the creativity. And that's why I really see myself enjoying this adventure game, because the adventure is not laid out in front of you, you must make it. You are having to create your own story, and whether that means you actually go out and look for the hidden secrets of this world, which are there. There is a story, apparently, and me and my friends are going to do it very soon. Or whether it means you just go around and enjoy being a pirate for maybe an hour and then get off and then maybe come back to it in a couple weeks. The freedom of choice that Rare implemented with this game is phenomenal. I think it was actually very well thought through, and yes, there wasn't a lot to do at first, but they also didn't quite necessarily intend to not put a lot in there. It feels as if almost they knew that the fun came from the experience made with your friends compared to following a story and getting the most out of it. And that is something I truly enjoy. I feel as if the team at Rare that actually did develop this game, they knew what they wanted to do. They wanted to have a game that was open on the same ideals as Minecraft, where you create your own fun, but now it's limited to your ship and the world that inhabits. You're not creating everywhere you go. You're not, building everything. You're just creating your ship and your crew and your pirate. Now, this is where I believe the game really starts to hit its first snag, because it wants to have that same openness that is Minecraft and the same adventure aesthetic, but there's not nearly as much to do. There's not as much to find and hunt for and achieve in between the, here's the go find this thing from this one, merchant, and then you go, you fight some scally bones, you do the thing, you dig it up, and you come back. But the fact of the matter is, what they could do, and what I think would be smart for going forward, is if it was more free. If instead of having to go to the merchants and stuff to sell all the time, perhaps you just hoard all of your booty for a while, and then you just become these, you have this, like, fabled ship of untold riches and things like that. And to an extent, you can do that, but it can't carry its save from one to the next. It seems to, you know, if you leave the server, then you're just kind of done. Whereas I think if you could save this loot, it could be something just so much more enticing. It's like, ooh, our ship is so stacked with loot that, you know, we'll die defending it. And, you know, you could write this story, this fable of these legendary pirates, and maybe you actually do shipwreck and all of your loot just is right there on that island. That island is now a hot zone. And again, you can do this while you're in the server, but now if you extend that by a day, or 2, or 3, or 4, and the same boat has all of that loot on it, it becomes a lot more, like, interesting. And there could be more community involvement of, like, trying to find these things. Expanding the stories out in this way, where you're trying to make the community not only intermingle all the time, but maybe have something similar to an MMO where it's like, X servers are like this, or these servers are like this, and you get to choose where you're playing. I think that could be a really interesting thing going forward. Is it probably going to happen with Sea of Thieves? More than likely not. But it is a cool idea. This game brings a lot of interesting ideas for future games to the table, all while being a solid game on its own. Because it is so simple. You know, there's nothing too crazy. You've got snakes, you've got skeletons. Those are your, like, big dangers. You have other players. That is the biggest danger. Sharks and these things. They are all playing into what is dangerous and what, you know, could possibly be the end of your ship. But it's not always present. You're just able to really enjoy the game of, okay, we're trying to get to this destination. Where's the compass? You know, who's helming the ship? Who's doing this? Who's in the crow's nest keeping an eye out for the danger? Having freedom in games is phenomenal. Is it possible to be too free? I believe so. And I do believe this game kind of suffered from that, especially in the beginning. But its premise is what's enticing. And you have to be in the mood for it to really get the most out of it. And now there is some story and stuff in here, and that's what I still need to play through and learn and understand. So perhaps when I come back to do my full review of Sea of Thieves, it will be a little bit different. We'll have to wait and see. But when I pair this freedom that the game gives me with the visuals that it gives, which is a very rare, stylized, modern game, and I think it looks amazing. It is probably one of the best looking games I've played in a while. And it's not because it's super high fidelity, it's because it is so unique. It is very rareware aesthetic, and I love that. And then you topple that on, they've made probably the best ocean ever in video games. I feel like this is the gold standard for what an ocean should be for years to come. I honest to God think that this is a winning recipe of a game that's still being simmered into its full potential. And where it goes from here, we'll have to wait and see. I'm excited to keep playing, and this is a game that I feel as if you are looking for something to do with your friends right now, this would be one to jump onto and play. It was recently on sale for, I believe, the first time on Steam, and all my friends were just like, bought it. I think at any price point, except for full, so any discount that you can get this game for, highly, highly encourage it. Sea of Thieves is a game that, if you enjoy role-playing, it can be the best for your buck. If you enjoy that expansive freedom, a nice-looking aesthetic for its visuals, and just a nice, calming or very intense game that you can play for an hour or two at a time and feel completely fulfilled, and then do the same thing again the next day.